Hello, I'm Lance Corporal Ben Harris, and today I'm going to take you through the audition process for British Army Music. This is a higher training wing, a state-of-the-art facility for British Army Music. It's where musicians come to learn and develop. It's also where we hold our auditions. We've got some brilliant musicians auditioning today. Let's go and meet our first one. When you arrive, your chaperone will guide you to the exam room. This is where you will sit your general music theory test.
Morning, Keris. I'm WO1 Andy Lennox. I'm the Personnel Selection Officer for the Royal Corps of Army Music. Welcome. I hope you
The Personnel Selection Officer will first welcome you and then talk you through the audition process, covering the 4 elements that you will undertake. You can ask any questions if you're not sure about something.
Please put your name on the piece of paper and today's date.
The first step is the general musicianship paper, which is equivalent to roughly grade 5 theory. You will have an hour to attempt 6 questions, such as writing scales, inserting time signatures or appropriate rests within a bar, musical analysis, where you'll be asked to identify elements such as key signatures, time signatures, chord identification and modulation, interval identification, transposition, and finally identifying musical terminology. When attempting the theory paper, fill in all the questions to the best of your ability. Remember, it's better to attempt a question than to leave it blank. Once time's up, the Personnel Selection Officer will collect the paper from you. Then, you'll be taken to a practice room where you can warm up and prepare for the practical. If you need anything, give me a shout and just get yourself ready for the audition. Make as much noise as you want. The panel will be busy preparing in another room. Do whatever you need to do to get into the right frame of mind. This could be running scales or performing your chosen audition pieces. You'll have at least 10 minutes of practice time to get ready. The Personnel Selection Officer will then take you through to the audition room and introduce you to the audition panel.
Morning, Keris. Please.
You'll take a seat. There will usually be 3 or 4 members of British Army Music to audition on the day. They each bring a wealth of musical knowledge, but also an understanding of how nerve-wracking an audition like this can be. Remember, they've all experienced this at the start of their career.
Morning, Keris. My name is Jonathan Spencer. I run the CET, the Core Engagement Team.
They'll break the ice by asking you a few basic questions. This isn't to put you on the spot, but to get a better feel for you as a person.
Start having lessons, and I said, yeah, that would be really good. So
discovering where your musical interest started will help them gain a better understanding.
My hope is to get into that band one day. I would love to.
I was going to ask, is that something that you'd like to look at? So, good to know.
They'll also check if you're aware of the physical requirements of the Army and what steps you've taken to prepare for this. Every musician that joins must pass 14 weeks of basic training before starting initial trade training. If you're unsure or worried about these requirements, please contact the Core Engagement Team for further guidance. After your introduction, you'll be asked what order you would like to take each section of the audition.
It's entirely up to you where you'd like to begin.
You can pick whatever order you feel most comfortable with.
I'll start with the scales if that's okay.
This is your audition and you are in control.
And as soon as you're all ready, we'll commence with some of the scales.
Take your time warming up. If you need to adjust your instrument or music stand, this is the time to do it. For the scales, you'll be asked to perform at around a grade 6 standard. These scales will be sent to you beforehand.
Can we have A flat major tongued over 2 octaves, please? Okay, don't worry, just relax, take a deep breath.
If you make a mistake, take a deep breath and try again. The panel expects nerves to be a factor for all auditionees. Brush off your mistakes and carry on.
Can we have E major slurred over 3 octaves?
Staying in a positive mindset can only help the performance.
That concludes the scales. What would you like to go on to next?
I'd like to do my pieces next, if that's okay.
You'll perform your pieces in the order of your choosing. Whilst you play, the panel will likely write notes. They may also stop you or ask you to skip further along in your piece. Please don't be put off by this. They may be working to strict timings due to auditioning others on the day.
When you're ready, please commence. Thank you.
This is your time to shine, so give it your best shot, and remember, there's no such thing as a perfect performance.
Great, lovely. Now, if we'd like to move
For the
on
sight
to
reading,
your
you'll have
sight
1 minute to look at and prepare the short piece. The sight reading can be frightening for many musicians, but what they're looking for is an ability to make a first attempt at a piece of music, not flawless perfectionism. Whilst preparing, you can play through a few bars if necessary, however do not play through the full piece. Have a look at all of the markings and annotations on the page.
Great, thank you. Well, that concludes all the playing that you have to do today. So if you'd like to rest your clarinet down, and Sant Petri will conduct the oral assessment with you.
We're going to start with sight singing.
Like the sight reading, you'll have a short amount of time to think the piece through. Don't panic, it'll be a simple piece with obvious melodic shaping. With the starting note and accompanying chords, you should be able to make sense of the melody on the page.
4.
And of course, you absolutely don't have to be a great singer. The panel just wants to see how well you can use your creative imagination.
Now on to intervals. I'd like you
Included in the oral assessment, you'll be asked to identify the name of some intervals. The notes will be played separately and together.
Minor sixth.
Thank you.
Following
And
this,
here's-
the second exercise will be singing intervals after the pianist has given you a starting note.
Thank you. If that's an E, what note is a major third higher?
G sharp.
There will also be cadences. The pianist will play a short passage and ask you to identify the cadence.
Perfect.
And finally, the pianist will play a short piece and ask you to identify any musical devices that you hear.
Do you know who wrote that?
I think it's Gershwin.
Okay.
There's some swung rhythms in there, lots of chromaticism.
Thanks, that's really interesting.
Once practical is finished, the panel may want to ask you a few questions. This could include how you felt the audition went, any aspirations you have within British Army music, and any performance-related questions to further assess your musical understanding.
What approach would you have for those little sections?
I'd just slow it right down, practice the passages and then practice them with a metronome and get them back up to full tempo from there.
You'll also get a chance to ask some questions of your own to the panel. Perhaps you'd like to know how they find the job, or what great gigs they've experienced in their career.
What's like your highlight from being in the army?
Well, for me, I've had the opportunity to play at some amazing venues, some great concerts. It's great gigs and great people. Well, thank you, Keris. That concludes the audition today. Mr. Lennox will now take you back to the waiting area, and we'll have a little bit of a conflab and then we'll let you know how you've done.
Now for the moment of deliberation. The panel will discuss their thoughts on how they think your performance went, but also assess your potential as an applicant. This is a fair process where they will weigh up many factors before they decide on your suitability as a British Army musician. Whilst the panel come to their conclusion, if you're interested in a career in British Army music, please get in touch with us here at the Core Engagement Team and we can help you prepare for your audition.
Good. No, excellent. So I think we're all agreed. Well, listen, thank you ever so much for coming down this morning. I'm very pleased that it's unanimous from the panel that you have reached the required standard, and I'm very pleased to offer you employment in British Army music.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Well done. Well done, Keris.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching and we hope you found this informative. If you've any further questions about a career in British Army music, please follow the link in the description. We look forward to seeing you for your audition.